What's up, everyone? This is Sterling Brown of the Combot Collective, giving you everything you want to know about the 2021 Battlebots season as we move closer and closer to the reveal and we continue our Battlebots preview. This is part 3 and 4 of our 2021 season preview. Of course, you can follow along by looking at our Battlebots info document you can find on all of our social media platforms. We'll be covering 16 robots from the Midwest to the West in this little region, even 2 robots coming up that are international in the northern region. This one, of course, I'll be flanked by our UK correspondent, MisterRedman, and our US correspondent, PoryNog, who join me for these episodes here. And let's not waste too much time. Let's jump right in. Of course, like I said, you can find our info document in the description below and on all of our social media pages. And you can follow us on those pages. Find our Instagram and our Facebook and our Discord server on those pages and in the description below. And you can listen to the audio form of these shows wherever you can find your podcasts, on Spotify, on Apple, on Amazon, on Google, all of those websites. So now let's jump into the next part of our Battlebots preview.
Welcome to the Combot Collective.
All right, opening up the Western Division here, we have a robot who has recently found some success lately. It is Big Dill, the robot that just won the 2021 Robot Ruckus event that just happened in Florida back in November. And we've seen from that event, even though some changes were made at that event since Battlebots 2021, this robot's been completely overhauled, brand new shock-mounted armor, everything internally from the drive power to the lifter power, to the chains, to everything inside, the speed controller as well. All of this stuff has been changed on Big Dill, now armed with a flamethrower between forks, which we didn't see in Orlando because of weapon restrictions, but this is a brand new version of a robot that made in just due to COVID rules last year. We know Emmanuel Carrillo's story. We know he's a fantastic driver. And what do we think about this year's Big Dill? I'm pretty excited to see a control bot like this.
I'd have to agree.
Yeah. I like that Big Dill is finally coming into its own, because last year it was like basically like, you know, like a Warhawk, but Frankenstein had like a lifter attached to it, but now it's sort of its own thing. And it looks beautiful. Like, and you know, Banana Run, is that what it went as?
Yeah, it was. I really like the yellow too. That stuff looked great.
I think the yellow actually suits it, but like Banana Run definitely showed that they got what it takes. Like they delivered lots of really good lifts, and you know, as long as I do worry about Big Dill against like a hard hitting spinner. Like I don't see Big Dill beating like a Tombstone or a Valkyrie, but like I could definitely see it like beating a lot of other control bots.
I could see it doing good against an undercutter like Valkyrie, something like that.
I mean, these days I would more or less argue that when it comes to making a ideal control bot, you need to have a machine that can take the hits from the big spinners. Otherwise, it's not really going to be doing much controlling. It's going to be slapped around a bit everywhere. And I suppose looking at the front of Big Dill in terms of its design, it reminds me a bit of those billet bots in the way. It just got like that shiny metal, like from
no waste
like
space.
a duck's thing. Like I look at this like front frame and I think this machine is going to deflect or like stop a spinner like Tombstone, because even then I would like this like the new season's been around for a while. A lot of people have been able to watch the previous seasons, seen some of the big heavy hitters, and some of the heavy hitters we've seen from previous seasons haven't exactly been able to last as long in terms of durability. Like Tombstone lost to Scorpio small machines, you know?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like,
Also, I feel like that Big Dill probably has like a horizontal attachment. I mean, and the guy knows how. I mean, he designed Warhawk. I'm pretty sure. Like he knows
For
how to
sure.
design robots. Like he's not
Yeah.
a rookie by any means. So
there's,
I'm sure he strategizes for it.
yeah, there's no way I'd see this machine really like taking one hit and then being knocked out. I definitely think
Oh,
this
really?
machine, this
It's gonna
and
give the distance a
especially
lot.
especially in like this new BattleBots meta where now we have the shelf involved. Like this robot looks like it could definitely take advantage of the shelf. It could definitely take advantage of the corner pockets. It's going to do some lifting. It's going to do some suplexing, and I think this machine is definitely more built on the idea of taking on a spinner. It definitely will take on a spinner.
Absolutely.
Though that's all depending on, of course, everything on the inside manages to stay where it should be upon the first
Right.
deflection of a hit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we've seen them tackle spinners pretty well in the past. Look at the Adam 94 fight, the way it's able to lock itself in, take advantage of the situation. And we even saw it in Orlando just now with what it was able to do to robots like Slammo and Piranha and Extinguisher. It's a fantastic
Took out
robot.
Perfect Phoenix with these.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
Oh yeah, exactly.
they're just a master of finesse. They have the two long forks. And with the flamethrowers, I don't know if it's going to be a blowtorch flamethrower in the vein of complete control, but that's probably
Oh,
going
I
to have
hope
some
so.
damage. And that's the big thing I worry about with a lot of these control bots. It's always a big topic. Is just what are you going to do about the judges? Because you can run them around, drive them around all you want, but if you take the impact and you take the damage, it doesn't matter how long you survive. You're probably going to struggle to win. You know?
Yeah, well, yeah. I can until there's a much more equal, I suppose, like judge score.
Yeah.
Not making a robot with a spinner is always going to put you at some kind of disadvantage. I mean, Blacksmith changed itself into a hammer saw, so.
Yeah. I mean, it sucks you have to see a team cave like that. As fantastic as the hammer saw is, you know.
Yeah, it's just how it is. It's like, as the team leader of Hypershock says, you know, this is a flashy sport, and what's flashy? Spinners. So that's how it is. But thankfully, we have a shelf. Maybe that will change a few things.
Right? That's what we're hoping for. But yeah, where do we see this robot finishing in the grand picture of the season? I personally, I think, you know, obviously Orlando happened after BattleBots, but if that's anything to show for what that robot is potentially able to do, I think it has a chance at making the 32, maybe even the 16. But you know, for any control bot, it's going to be an uphill battle. So make a big
I hope it just chucks someone out the arena or onto the shelf.
Right? Get in that corner, absolutely. Get it on one of those little new screw pods that we were just talking about before the show. Yeah.
You just slap them on there, like you could eat your dinner off of that. You can certainly put a robot on there.
I would definitely eat my dinner off of that.
Oh yeah.
Oh man. But yeah.
They should do that.
But yeah, that's Big Dill. It's a very fascinating robot. The only robot we have this year coming out of Washington, and we look forward to it. Hopefully, Western Allied Robotics can stay active as we enter the 2021 season. Moving on now from one robot that we saw in the Orlando Maker Faire event, the winner of the event, to another robot that was undefeated at the event for very different reasons. I don't know when the Orlando review or analysis, I should say, is going to come out, so I don't know if it's going to be before or after this. But in that one, we talked a lot about this robot. It did a lot of damage to that arena with its wedges and its speed. So there's obviously a lot of potential there from what we've seen. We're, of course, talking about Claw Viper coming out of Washington, captained by Kevin Mozensky. This robot looks absolutely fantastic this year. They have redone everything on the robot from the shape of it, the lifting and clamp system. They have a 4-bar clamp now, which is super exciting to see, which has a special programming system, I believe, designed for it, so it all activates in one fell motion. The robot looks like it has a lot of potential this year. It's well armored. Not too much known about the robot. The team always keeps it fairly secretive. We only ended up figuring out about Claw Viper due to them appearing in one little pits thing on the Scorpius blog before they ended up being revealed on the website, of course. But yeah, I'm super excited about Claw Viper this year. What do we think about Claw Viper, guys?
I think this year Claw Viper has come out more of it in its own shell and its own design. I mean, previously it looked, I suppose, a bit like a snake-themed complete control. This one, it looks more like it looks like a snake themed sports car. It looks
It
fantastic.
looks sleek as can be. It's definitely one of the
Yeah.
biggest glow ups this year.
Yeah, the armor looks fairly tough, and the claw system I like. It looks to be durable, though I'm not quite sure about how it will. I suppose keep robots on it, since it does look like robots can still. It hasn't really got the catches like deadlift.
It doesn't have anything to really
No.
stop it. It has that flat front, which might end up being a bit of an issue to some
Yeah,
wedge
it's
bots.
got those wedgelets that may like hook onto robots, but I don't imagine like robots that have a decent like I suppose high ground clearance, which I suppose is I mean technically speaking a minority in the Battlebots lineups over today. So like, but hearing that it's got like that whole full clamp system, that may like counteract the idea of not having those like wedgelets on the side with like a quick clamp, which
Yeah.
which should be good. And yeah, it looks like it's made to be like a sports car. I mean, it says itself on the website that Claw Viper has a higher power to rate ratio than most sports cars. So
Yeah, it's
it's
ridiculous. It's ridiculous how fast and how powerful it is with its speed.
so
Yeah.
it definitely seems like it's going to be that machine that's going to be utilizing its like ramming more than its clamping.
A bit like Lycan we saw back in 2016. It definitely
Oh, yeah.
came in as a rammer disguised as a clamp. But this one, much better controlled. We saw it in the fight it had against Slambo 1.0 in Orlando last month. It's a fantastically driven, but definitely still a bit nippy. And that kind of played as a vice last year, even though it was one of its selling factors. It definitely had some huge control issues, especially in the Black Dragon fight, namely. But
Yeah.
they've had time to work on the drive more, and they've had time to prepare, and hopefully we'll get to see a lot more of an aggressive, a lot more of a durable Claw Viper this year. A lot more controlled, too.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I agree for sure. It looks great. It fast. As long as it can be a little better controlled, I think it could definitely go places. I just want to go to Suplex City though. That's all I want.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Now, if they can do what they did to Slammo, because that was a picture perfect suplex, that was absolutely beautiful. They did in Orlando. They're gonna be doing plenty of those. It just depends on the opponents, what kind of bot you can get, what kind of draw. It seems like they have one of the more efficient clamping systems in the field. I think Overhaul definitely has a good one as well, but we'll get to them later, of course. But I have a lot of high hopes for Claw Viper this year. Hopefully, we can even see him in the top 32. They definitely turned some heads last year, but could only manage the one win
It's
against Hijinks. Go ahead.
it's a potential thing, I'd say. I mean, there are a lot of good clampers this season, so
Yeah.
it's just at the end of the day, really, it's going to come down to who is the better suplexer and wrestler. I mean, this one's going for a lot more of a I suppose like a quick speed ramming kind of deal, take out the opponent before they can really get an opportunity to really damage them. So if it can keep the fights quick, then they can probably survive, but we'll have to see how it goes.
Absolutely. Yeah, I could definitely see Claw Viper being the kind of robot to really spike someone into the upper deck or the shelf, full force, up onto the screws, into the OODA zone with a bit more control. I think the shape of the robot of Claw Viper now is going to be more accommodating. Last year, of course, they were a bit long, a bit bus-shaped, and I think that didn't really help with what they were going for. But this is a square right here, and, a four-wheel drive. It's an all-business design. It looks absolutely fantastic, and hopefully we'll see Claw Viper doing pretty good in the 2021 season as we now move on to our next robot.
Cool.
Moving on now from our Washington robots to the only robot we have this year from Colorado, a team that has been representing the state very well over the past few seasons and in a couple of countries as well. Of course, we are talking about Copperhead, probably the best drum robot we saw last year. In Minotaur's absence, it absolutely glowed up, absolutely delivered from what it did in 2019. Went undefeated in the regular season, got a top 4 seed. It's unfortunate it had the upset it did against Mammoth, but even in the bounty competitions, it looked really well. And the team has only improved Copperhead this year with the brand new rustic paint job it has. They're bringing 2 fully ready Copperheads into 2021. And they've changed their internals from steel to aluminum to make up for some weight issues, but has a brand new drive system, and along with some other changes. But of course, I think the biggest change a lot of people have been talking about with Copperhead this year is the new captain. Well, new captain. Robert and Kim Cowan, who were just crew members of the team, and while Zach Goff was in charge. But Zach Goff, of course, has business things that he had to take care of for this year. So Cowan had to take the wheel for this year for Copperhead. He's super well known in the robot combat community, super well experienced. He has many 30-pound robots in the team, and he's definitely a good person to have in charge. And he even has brought in some team members as well, like Micah Spinelli, who captains Beam, who you see a lot in the Motorama events. It has a very good crew coming with Copperhead this year, and it looks like the sky's the limit for this team. What do we think of Copperhead this year?
I think Copperhead looks it definitely looks interesting. I mean, from a bit far away, it looks like it's been in the deep fryer
Right.
in terms of the chassis.
It definitely looks
but
different in that regard.
yeah, it's gone for that more, I suppose, like snakier, maybe oily copper, like
Right.
snake skin feel to it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not got the same look for its drum or wheels. So I don't know, it's a bit of a strange
it just
contrast
stands
there.
out, right?
Yeah, but let that not be, I suppose, a distraction to how tough and I suppose compact this a machine looks. It doesn't look like it's just been, I suppose, chewed out of a piece of metal and fall like a solid block of metal and just
Right.
slapped
It's
down
just
and
a chunk
shaped.
of steel. There's no wasted space for
Exactly.
a robot like that. It's one of the smallest robots here this year, in fact. It was the
It's
smallest
go- it's
robot there
gonna
last
be-
year.
It's going to be tough to. I think it's going to be tough to really sort of have a proper dent to it. Really, you can since it's
Right.
just so focused. In that they've really I
Mhm.
suppose brought this snake down to a small size, but they're making up for its venom. Because goodness me, that is a
Absolutely.
chunky drum. Chunky drum.
Absolutely beautiful. Absolutely vicious drum. And we know it can do some real damage. No one's going to forget what it did to Gigabyte last year. Pretty much nearly threw that entire half of the robot, the shell half of Gigabyte, into the ceiling, into the lights. That was stellar. Probably the most fantastic hit last year at BattleBots. And if you're a spinner, you got to watch out for Copperhead because, like you were saying, it's super compact, super dense, and you're not going to take a bite out of it. But one thing I would worry about if I was this team would be a lot of the control bots this year. We saw them have issues with bots like Gruff and Mammoth in the past, and what would be a fun fight would be seeing the snakes go at it. Have Copperhead and Clawpupper, who we just talked about.
Oh
That
goodness me, that would be
that might
crazy.
be a fight that would be exciting. But I think Clawpupper might have the upper hand in a fight like that because this robot's so compact. With a robot like this, it's easier to take a bite out of.
I mean, maybe I feel like the size of Copperhead really is an advantage in a way, since it's I suppose it's a lot. It's not as big as some of the more heftier machines that we have in the competition.
Yeah.
So
And it's
it'll be a lot.
definitely
I suppose
nimble.
it'll be a lot. It's, I suppose, in terms of areas to really grab onto, you really got to aim for specific points, since it's going to be tight to really grab onto it without it sort of slipping out, or you end up grabbing onto the weapon of sorts. I mean, it wouldn't exactly, I suppose, be a problem if you managed to grab onto the weapon, but it just looks to be difficult to handle in a way. But then again, Mammoth beat it, so we'll
Right.
have to see how it goes.
It definitely can be slippery. It just depends on how reliable it can stay in fights, how many hits it can take, because you gotta be robust in BattleBots, of course. I mean, they're coming in with a fairly decent record. Their full lineage from Poison Arrow to Spicy Newt to Copperhead, it sits at 18 and 14, so they could really break that out or end up kind of falling back to average with an event like this. A lot of big changes, like I said, inside that are built for the reliability, for power's sake. And a lot of those changes seem to be really good. I definitely look forward to Copperhead this year, and I definitely can see them making a run, even all the way up to the top 4, if all things go right for this team, because they're definitely coming prepared. And they're coming in with a little bit of intimidation. They have their, of course, they have the Minibot snakes. Everyone knows and loves the Minibot snakes. And they even have a real snake this year. They partnered up with, I believe, some adoption group or some rescue group that does snakes, and They have one of those snakes up for adoption that they brought out to be in the pits that they're having just to show off, just to show that you can like how they are, and that's really exciting. I hope we don't. Hopefully, we don't see it in the arena. Keep it away from too much chaos. You don't want to upset the snake, but I'm super excited to see all of that happening.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm looking forward to the big hits, because we're gonna get some really good ones.
Mm-hmm. And from what we saw in the trailer, that matchup, I believe it was against Fusion that they showed off. Yeah, you gotta
That
be
should be
excited
fun.
for that. It's gonna be big hits, heavy impacts, and it's definitely something I think Copperhead can survive for. If Fusion has the same issues as it has last year, but that's just gonna be something we'll have to end up seeing. But yeah, Copperhead, it has a lot to live up to. It was a fantastic season last year, but they definitely have the potential to follow that up this year. As we now move on to some of our other robots here. Now moving on with our fourth robot in the Western region and our first pure rookie of the region here. It's a robot I'm of course very happy about. Of course, I got the cacti shirt on for this one. It's one of the Texas robots, and I'm a little anxious about it. It's captain by Jordan Neal. It's a brand new robot, the first ever combat robot that this team has brought to the arena. At least we know that they tried to applying in 2020 with a robot named Piranha, but this is their first actual entry into an arena. It's a two-wheel drive vertical spinner, and it has some good motors in it. It's using Waiashi NPC motors for drive. Of course, we're talking about Dragon Slayer, the two-wheel vertical spinner. I reserve some thoughts about this robot, but what do we think about it, y'all?
Oh, I this machine, I think, like it's one of the more unique verts out there. As I said, like I love the gimmicks, and this robot has just fully committed to that whole Night 5 gimmick. Like you can tell these
I like
guys will
the
play
photos,
Dungeons
for
and Dragons. Yeah, all these guys play Dungeons and Dragons together. Just for looking at the team picture, these guys regularly every week they come out, play some tabletop games, and they decided one day they could either buy a really expensive miniature for their table, or they could build a BattleBot, and they had to roll for it. And this is what we got. And I'm glad they rolled it well because it's a fantastic machine. I love the spinner. The paintwork is just phenomenal.
Man.
Yeah, I'm excited to see it. It's a very pretty robot. I do have the worries. Don't get me wrong, because it is a completely rookie team, and from what I've heard before electronics, the robot was under $1,000, which
That's
is
insane.
amazing. That's incredible. That's
Plus
probably going to be the
Jackpot
selling
shit.
point.
Absolute bargain, yeah.
Yeah, it's a deal. They rolled for those low deals, But
High persuasion.
I feel like if it works well, though, I think it could be a serious contender because it's got like that electric boogaloo vibe to it.
Seriously, yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's a tried and
I
proven
think-
design.
I think the only thing that really I would say looks kind of cheap on the design as a whole is the wheels, and the wheels kind of look a bit flimsy to me.
Yeah, it's a big target too. It's not like a tombstone where you're covering that.
Yeah,
They might be an issue, and it looked like there might be air or foam tires too, which could be an issue.
Yeah, they've got a very specific sort of point of attack really, and as long as they have good maneuverability, they should be fine. But I don't think from looking at the design as well, if it's tipped over, the spinner I don't think will run properly either, considering the spacing between the spinner and the the top of the spinner and the robot as a whole.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it has a set of ears, does it?
No, it does. It's like the
It can self-right though. I think you do the gyro to self-right. They posted a video of it where it was on its front, but they were able to get back into place. Even
if they can do that, then that's fab enough.
My mistake. They do have a set of ears. It's an alternate configuration. They use it for their less heavy weapon, and when they want to go more offense, they use the heavier weapon. And they get rid of the ears. It says right here. So that's a good setup. That's modularity, and of course they have those 3 weapon setups that we were just talking about, named Dragon's Breath, the Crusader, and Say Goodnight, because who doesn't love a good pun? I will say though, they showed that footage of them knocking a 80-pound piece of metal. I think it was 10, 11 feet. I wasn't too impressed by that. I gotta admit, it doesn't seem like that's too powerful. And especially if that's only 80 pounds, you're not going to be fighting Jaeger each round. I don't know.
Yeah.
Even Jaeger's heavier than that.
You're not going to be chipping in. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You're not
It's
going to
a-
be.
it's
You're
a-
going to be
yeah.
chipping away at heavyweights. But I'm not convinced about big time damage just yet. I'd love to be wrong because, like I said, this is a GFW team and that's my home region. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
In like it could start, but it could just come out from nowhere and like pull out all the stop and actually knock out someone fantastic. I mean, uppercut. I mean, I think when it debuted, it knocked out a few like strong machines. So
and crazy
it definitely
first season.
yeah, it could definitely have a crazy first season itself. And I love the design. I just like, if anything, it wins on style for me. If that was still a
Right.
category.
I definitely hope they make the impression enough to like stay a recurring competitor. You know, and maybe they do have that amazing run. I certainly want
Yeah,
to see it.
it reminds you of that crash and burn like bust that was good.
Yes, hack and slash. Yeah,
Yeah. I wish that was still a thing. I don't know if they're still going on with that. But
I think they were planning on it, but it just COVID and life happens.
Yeah, hopefully
Yeah.
2022 because that's probably. I mean, BattleBots. Well, not to digress too much, but if BattleBots wants a popular cluster bot that's going to have some success, that's the one to go with. But, we'll talk more about cluster bots when we get through this preview, around the end of the preview, around part 9. But talking about Dragon Slayer and opponents we would like to see a face, I want to see a face Black Dragon. I feel like you got to do that. Have Black Dragon and the Dragon Slayer, right?
Oh, that's good. If like, they definitely would just sort of like, I suppose, rig the matchups to have something like that occur. There's definitely gonna be something like that happening.
Right.
That's probably gonna be. It's gonna be like. I feel like there may be an opening card or main event thing. There's no way they're not gonna have something like that.
Yeah. And
It could technically fight it could, like Gruff was initially called Gruff the Mighty Dragon or something.
dude, that
so
was
Gruff's the dragon.
that was almost a thing. Yeah.
Yeah, so like
hilarious.
technically they could fight Gruff and they'd be slaying a dragon if they won. So
That's true.
I'd be a little closer to their level because I feel like Black Dragon, like no offense to Dragon Slayer, but Black Dragon would like kill them in like 30 seconds probably because Black Dragon's terrifying.
We have a little faith here. We
Have
have
a little
faith.
faith. But
Just as long as they're all high enough in initiative, they should be fine.
yeah.
It
He did
speaks
have
more
his
for
test
Black
box,
Dragon
though.
than Dragon Slayer,
Yeah.
Little D&D joke, people.
And of course, before we move on to our next robot, this is a little factoid Pory told me the other day when we were recording the California ones. Apparently, Dragon Slayer has a Twinkie inside of it.
A Twinkie.
That's when Scorpios post, because Scorpios has been posting like every few days, like like a little write up about every bot that competed and why like they like them, and they're like, yeah, there's a Twinkie inside this robot, and I don't see why they'd randomly say that unless they're actually.
I was joking.
I hope it gets toasted.
I was joking about them being nerds earlier. It just like
But that'd be like a really random thing to joke about. Like, there's.
It's like
I'm
these
kidding,
with the
there's not
kebab.
really a Twinkie in there.
just a Twinkie inside the bot. Like, I love these guys. They're phenomenal.
That's fantastic. But yeah, that's one of our few pure rookies this year. One of the few, that's only really them and Glitch that are making their first heavyweight fight, or even fight in general coming into this. But now let's move on and go into the home of Battlebots Las Vegas with our next robot. Now going from Colorado to a bit more further out west, we now go to the home team of Battlebots this year. It's a very interesting scenario and a team that really ended up being one of the Cinderella stories of the 2020 championship season. Coming in as a COVID rookie, one of the cheapest BattleBots we've ever seen produced, of course, the robot known as the bot on the budget. We're talking about Jeff Waters' creation, Jackpot, who's coming in fully redesigned this year from the ground up, has a brand new sturdy wedge, which is the standout piece of this new frame that they have. And they have 2 fully prepared Jackpots for this year, like they did last year, set to ready to go. The same set of weapons, and even an improved Shremek. They said they were able to improve the Shremek and now has a double lifting bar instead of the casino, the slot machine arm that they were doing last year. Brand new weapon motor as well. So it's even so hopefully we're gonna see more reliability out of the weapon, maybe even more power, more impact. And even the weapon bars have changed. They might have the same ones, but they're now thicker, they said, so they're gonna be even sturdier, more robust in that regard. And modularity as well. A lot of wedgelets have been prepared. The team has said from various lengths, and it's going to be a contender. It went 3-2 last year. Probably the rookie of the year in my opinion, out of all the teams we saw. It was absolutely stellar to watch this team fight. Had some great matches against teams like Lockjaw, Ghost Raptor, proper legends of the sport. Seeing Jeff Waters really show some emotion. It was awesome to see, and I'm excited to see Jackpot this year. What do we think?
I'm looking forward to it. I think that Jackpot definitely has a shot at, making a pretty solid run. I mean, I'm looking forward to the rebuild. I mean, now that they've had more time to, lock in the design and sort of, get it all together. I mean, the original one was a rush build, but this one they had a year to sort of perfect and
They
make
can
nice.
hone
And
it
then,
in.
yeah, they hone it in and it just looks a lot nicer. It's really fresh looking. I want to say it's a little more compact even.
I think
And,
so. I think the
it's
first
very
Jackpot was
nice.
surprisingly compact, but this one, yeah.
It's a little bit more. And then they have the heart shaped blade too. Like they have
hmm
different blades for different robots, which should be fun.
Yeah, I like that asymmetrical heart blade. Yeah, I'm glad they come
Yeah.
in prepared. They come in with setups. They definitely know what they're doing. They pretty much run the Vegas scene down there. Um,
Mhm.
it is very funny. The team pretty much went from one Robot Wars stick to another. Of course, as some fans know, they were originally going to come into BattleBots as Sabretooth with the same pattern and everything. And then they came in with the Jackpot theme, which, of course, fitting for Vegas. But 13 Black once ran with the theme as well. It has really...
Yeah.
It's developed a theme of its own, though, and I am excited to see it.
I don't know. I think it definitely looks like a tough machine. It doesn't look durable, and I love the blade.
Oh,
I
the
mean,
blade's
the front,
fantastic.
the front. I
It's got a
think
lot
the
of
front of
character.
Jackpot looks pretty decent, but when you get to the back, I think it's just a bit too boxy, and I'm not quite
is.
sure what they're going for when it comes to the sides there, where you can see the sort of the trapezium gaps. Like those look like you could just easily wedge underneath those and take advantage of that.
That's a good
It
point, yeah.
it seems like I mean, yeah, like it doesn't look more compact, it looks more sturdy, but it doesn't look like it's going to be somewhat easy to, I suppose, outmaneuver in a way. I mean, if you've got a
Yeah.
decent turning circle, it's fine. But I mean, I do. I mean, I love my gimmicks. I love my gimmicks, and I appreciate the team for looking like they work in Vegas. They've got the whole Vegas. They've got the jackets going on,
Right, it's
tuxedo.
stellar.
I love it. I love this that whole thing. I just think the machine that they've got here, it might just be the green that puts me off, just the sickly green. But I feel like
It's that poker table green, though.
yeah, I know it's got poker table green, but maybe they could have done a bit of poker table texture on it. Maybe a bit. It might have been too much to ask for that.
Have a furry Jackpot. Have that
Well,
felt over it.
yeah, have a little felt.
That would've been
Maybe they have some. They could have some like dice jingling on the side as they move the drive around.
Some
I think
entanglement dice. Just have it shit out dice mid fight.
exactly. It's like just shoot out dice at the royal to go full double jeopardy. I think that this machine, it's gonna be a hard hitter and it's gonna be tough. But I think in terms of design, I suppose in terms of looking at it, I think it still needs some work, but it's definitely going to be an interesting one to see in terms of fights.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting to see who they end up getting scheduled against. They weren't given the easiest schedule. I think they were given a respectable schedule last year with some veterans in SubZero, Lockjaw, Ghost Raptor of varying difficulty. And they delivered, though I do think they got a little bit lucky with SubZero, and that's only mildly biased, but I digress. It's a shame what happened to SubZero that fight. I think because we saw in the deadlift fight, once they get a good wedge, they're in trouble because obviously it's a different Shremek this year, so that might change. But if they get thrown over, with a boxy design like that, you can definitely have some issues.
Oh yeah,
They have a bunch of fun things going on, but at heart, it is a traditional vertical spinner. With a lot of power behind it, you definitely got to give it credit. But you have
it looks tough. It looks like it's going to cause some damage. I mean, they also say they've got an ace up their sleeve this season, so I don't know I don't know what they're going to be pulling out for us. Maybe they will pull out like maybe a 13 black drone. That'd be fab.
Oh my gosh, that would be lovely. Or like I want to see like a deck of cards like mini bots. Just like have 52 little mini bots, each with the
that would be sick. That'd be sick. That would
be beyond overwhelming, but I would love it.
They've got like magnet cards, like they just fire it out and just like jam the robots. They hit it. It'd just be fantastic.
Or have like one of those dealing machines, like the Uno ones, just have it shoot out cards from the side.
Yeah.
Something like that. Something ridiculous. I do love Jackpot. It was exciting to see teams like Jackpot, Big Dill, Rusty come out of their own, make lemons out of lemonade, and become fixtures out of Battlebots, out of circumstance, sort of. So yeah, super excited to see Jackpot this year. I do believe that they can be a top 30 contender, especially now that they have a big advantage that no other team has. They have that hometown factor. Pretty much every other team in this competition is going to be going to that builder's hotel and all that every night. But the Jackpot team doesn't. They get the luxury where they're probably going to get to go to their home, sleep in their bed, see their family, see their pets, all that good stuff. And that's going to be a big mental thing. A lot of Battlebots is fought inside the pits, and I think that's going to be a fairly big factor. It's going to be interesting to see what ends up happening with Jackpot. There's going to be a lot of fan support for it at the events. And I think it can make a good run off a lot of those weird intangibles. But it could also end up having a bit of a rough run if it gets a hefty schedule. So we'll just have to end up seeing how it goes with Jackpot. Now moving on, we have 60 robots in this year's Battlebots, but only one of them is going to win a giant nut. And let's be real here. We all know who. We all know what's the best state in the world. We all know what's the best state in the U.S., I should say. And we all know who's the best robot, the best flipper, the best everything, because we all love SubZero. We all know it's the GOAT. It's going to go 3-0. It's going to be 3 UDAs. Who knows how you're going to UDA a robot this year, but it's going to find a way. And it's going to take number 1. It's super good this year. I'm super excited about it. Logan Davis, of course, leading the train with his father, Brady Davis. It's the best team in Texas. 11-16 career record. It's going to go knocked up way above the 500 point after this year. They have 2 fully prepared SubZeros this year, one with the wedgelets, one with the anti-horizontal spinner plow. They've re-strengthened their flipping arm for 2021. They have new speed controllers, and they're bringing back Spitfire, which is super excited. The best drone in robot combat history. The most fundamental, the most important, the most resilient. That thing has literally been hit by other robots and still flown. And it's just super exciting to see this bot again. It's my favorite robot while Bronco takes as much time as it needs to come back. But we're all about SubZero here. And they love me, apparently, because they sent me this and they sent me the poker chip. And I love them. They're going to win Battlebots 2021. And yeah, I don't know how else y'all can follow that.
No shot. They ain't gonna win. No shot.
What?
Robot's going all the way. But
no.
I like SubZero. I think SubZero is gonna get some wins. It looks good. It's super clean. But let's be real. You're just filling that void that Bronco.
Yeah, exactly. You're like since Bronco's not here anymore, you have to sort of resort to I can't believe it's not Bronco.
What? No.
Like
SubZero's been around for years.
Yeah, SubZero's been around for years, but it's only, I believe, recently now started to look a bit like Bronco. So
it's always had the 4-bar flipper kind of thing going for it. You know what I mean? It's always done this. I was the first ever robot I ever saw, like the first ever famous robot I ever saw live, like in person. It competed at a Swark event in the middleweight arena that was not designed for heavyweights or middleweights. But I remember watching it fight. I honestly thought the arena was gonna break. And the team even sent me the video of that fight. And it turns out it was Logan's first SubZero fight that I saw, which is really cool.
Yeah, they were very helpful with me too. They sent me all sorts of really cool videos when I made my video on Battlebots Champions. But I just want to let the audience know that our man QWERTY, he promised that if Bronco went 0-4 in 2019, that he would make a video of himself eating a hot dog.
That video was literally going to be recorded.
It was a bet. It was a bet that he promised us, and we still haven't gotten it.
Still waiting. Still waiting.
It's going to literally.
So if you go, when this video is uploaded,
it's going to go up. I promise.
When this video is uploaded, I want y'all to hold QWERTY accountable. I want you to go to the YouTube account and make sure that video's there. And if not, call him out.
We could just double nothing. If SubZero doesn't make it to the top 32, that's 2 hot dogs.
I already made the deal. I've already made the deal. Yeah, King of Draft. That if SubZero doesn't make the top 32, I'm gonna go to Subway because people know if they know me on there, I don't mess with Subway. It's all horse and monkey meats. I don't touch it. And if I go to Subway, I'll go in there like a grown man, and I will say, "Hey, I want the drink, I want the chips, I want the
Right.
cookies, I want the sandwich." I'm not gonna get nothing
yeah,
nasty on the sandwich. Nothing I
get-
wouldn't
get
get on
the
a
full-
sandwich anyway. But
get the
I'll
full
eat it,
meal.
and I'll
Get
record
everything.
it, and I'll do a very similar video. But
Along with the hot dog. Along with the hot dog.
oh, the hot dog video
Will
is
you
coming.
take 2 years to upload that one too?
So is it SubZero.
gonna have-
Subway's not gonna last 2 years, I promise. I just realized that SubZero and Subway both start with sub, and I hate that.
Yeah.
SubZero. Eat fresh.
But yeah, super excited. Logan Davis.
It
with Team
does
XD.
look like it does look like
Oh.
a tough machine. I think its record though is, I suppose, has been up and down a bit. I mean, the 2019 it was rough. 2018 it was also fairly rough. But 2020, that's when it went up a bit for it. So
Yeah.
it might just be that over the years it's just gotten better and better. So
Yeah.
maybe now in 2020 it will finally break through to that top 32, and we'll see how it goes. I mean, it's good to see that like they're around still competing, and I've heard they're really nice guys. So all the best to them, and I'm just hoping that the machine does keep up with the other flippers of this tournament, and I suppose live on in that spirit of Bronco, because it's got Hydra to match up to really, and if it can beat Hydra, then it goes to show that these kinds of flippers can still kick it.
Yeah. I know I'm certainly excited for SubZero this year. I think it's going to hold up. Like you said, 2020 was a fantastic year for them. They won an entire bounty tournament. It's a shame they couldn't finish the job against Witch Doctor, but they were already 3 fights deep that day. You got to give them the credit. It was a fantastic run by them. They got their revenge on Valkyrie, and then SubZero also has the first ever recorded UDA out of the arena in Battlebots history on the Ice Wave. So we're 1-1 with them because they kind of beat us in 2016. Give us the Ice Wave rematch this year, Battlebots. We promise we're gonna fix the rubber match. We're gonna take him, throw him out of the arena like we did, put him up on the upper deck or the shelf or whatever it's called now, and it's gonna be easy. It'll be easy. It'll be just like that. We promise. But yeah, super excited for SubZero this year. Future Battlebots champion. If not, I'm eating some future top 32 for sure. Or if not, I'm eating some Subway. But it's gonna win the whole thing. It's gonna win a giant nut. Throw Whiplash, Gigabyte, Endgame, Hydra, all out of the arena at once. I love SubZero. It's gonna do so good this year. As we move on to another Texas robot that also starts with S. That maybe not be as snazzy, but I'm a little biased. Maybe it'll win my heart. I'm definitely cheering for it as we talk about Switchback. Now going on to the final robot from Texas and our western region here, where we're talking about one of the more unique pure rookies we're seeing coming into this event. This is the team's first ever heavyweight since they had Tetracide back at the Rochester R3 BattleBots event. Of course, we're talking about DFW's own Team Midnight Intervention with robotics CEO Greg Needle, who's captaining this machine. It's a very unique robot, not a hammer drum, which some people have mistaken it for, but instead an articulated drum, actuated drum. And Switchback comes with a lot of other unique, fascinating things with it. It has let me try that again. And Switchback has a lot of other things coming along with it. Of course, the team has come prepared. They have 2 fully ready Switchbacks and 2 other spare chassis they have on hand. The drum, the arm itself is very unique. The system powering it is completely custom built. It has a full 180-degree motion, and the weapon spins at a max of 10,000 RPM with 54,000 joules. And they do have multiple modular attachments for the body itself to make themselves ready for multiple fights, depending on who they end up facing and how sturdy they need to be for those fights. The weapon itself also very fascinating. Like I said, very fast, very powerful. Modular as well. They can remove teeth depending on who they're facing and how much power they need in the weapon itself. They run on max amps batteries, which is proven. Fully brushless custom motor system for the drive. And then they said it's a pretty fast robot. It can go up to 30 feet per second. It's well armored. It's supposed to be completely done in AR500. They said everything on Switchback is supposed to be completely modular. It's very fascinating to see. There's a lot of new ideas in this robot. And there's a lot of good minds behind it. What do we think of Switchback?
I would say that it's definitely unique one, and I do love unique entries. Switchback, it looks
Yeah,
phenomenal. The weapon looks to be dangerous. The armor looks to be tough. And I seeing it, I suppose, before, like move around just in that text box, its own theme tune, no less.
yeah,
It gives
that's
you
crazy.
can't help but feel a bit hyped up when you see it. But
Hmm.
in terms of um, I s- of it being potentially a strong competitor, I'm not quite sure. I mean, it's a rookie machine, so you may have to forgive me here and there. But what really
Yeah,
stands out to me in terms of the design is the fact that they have two very exposed chains on that top there,
they do.
which
Yeah,
is the entire is like it's their like powers their entire gimmick of their machine. You know, the whole hammer saw, sorry, actuated drum that um moves forwards and backwards, that kind of thing. I try not to mix up that referencing because um heard complaints about it before when you call it a hammer saw. But there we are.
it's very
Maybe hammer
fascinating.
drum. We can meet in the middle. Yeah. Um.
It's very fascinating to see it. I wonder how much they're actually gonna use actuation, because maybe I could see it being used very well on like a bot like a huge or a mammoth, raising the
Yeah.
weapon
It's
up. But
yeah. It,
I
can,
feel
it
like
definitely it definitely has the reach. I think it's just that if that's like if that spins really fast. I think you've mentioned before that gyro may become into like into its
yeah,
into its disadvantage here really.
I can't imagine what the gyro for this robot's gonna be. Like, it's one thing when you're like
Uh,
already like
you
a robot like Cobalt or Minotaur, and you have this big mass that weighs so much in the middle of your robot that's throwing you aside. What happens when you throw that thing behind you or in front of you? You know what I mean?
uh,
Yeah.
yeah, based on the test box videos I've seen, the gyro is pretty bad on this robot. It
Yeah.
is like,
Yeah.
And hearing about the fact that the weapon, that the whole robot is effectively modular, that's both a good thing and a bad thing
Right.
because good in that they're adaptable. Bad thing is that modular pieces are easier to come off than fixed ones.
Absolutely.
Uh, like
Just
like
look at the Western
like
Allied bots like Warhawk and Mad Catter in the past. They'd come
yeah,
apart like a
remember that,
switch.
remember that fight Warhawk, it would just split in two. You're like, it still was
Yeah.
able to drive around, but it wasn't exactly in one piece. And it's just, it does look like a robot that's made to be modular, but that
Mm-hmm.
may not prove itself too well if it comes up against a hammer saw, because a hammer saw could just hit that chain and suddenly the main gimmick of switchback is
Yeah.
gone. So they're really going to have to be careful, I'd say, and potentially, I suppose, keep the distance on the fight. Like they should be the ones that uh introduce, are the ones that like enticing the conflict. They should be the ones that should be moving in, keeping that weapon in front of them and keeping the robots at bay. Because if a robot just gets in close and starts overwhelming them, then I feel like something's going to come off.
Yeah, there's a lot of moving parts in a robot like this.
Mm.
When you have something like that, something can always go wrong. Just look at robots like Chomp and Tazbot in the past, they're always having smaller woes with stuff like that. I will say though, it does look fairly robust for all the things going on with it, especially the base robot itself. I don't know how much the robot itself weighs without all the arm and everything.
Mm.
Don't know if we have that written down somewhere here. But I digress. They do have a lot of experience, though. Of course, this isn't their first heavyweight. They brought unique designs in the past with robots like Tetracide. They have a lot of success in the first robotics competition. They have a bunch of fantastic people on their team. They have a YouTuber with over 1 million subscribers, which is very neat and good for
Yeah,
the sport. But
apparently 100 combined years of experience mentoring first robotic teams. So really good on them, I'd say. But
mhm.
yeah, it's just going to be a matter of seeing if that weapon system holds up to the BattleBots.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lot more. It's gonna be a lot like Triple Crown and some of these other really conceptual new robots coming in this year.
Oh,
Where it's gonna take them a few. It might take them a few years to get into that world of relevance, kind of the same way Tantrum did. But you don't want to end up like how X Backwards did, where they kind of never really found that spot out of it. But I am very excited to see Switchback. Of course, it's the Texas team. We got to cheer for all these Texas teams, and hopefully we'll see them in the playoffs. It's going to depend a lot on their schedule. Maybe they will turn some heads this year. We know there's been a lot of press, not really press, a lot of publicity, a lot of photos being out of its upcoming fight against Gruff that we're going to see likely fairly soon. I can't wait for it. Or maybe we'll turn some heads, but yeah, that's Switchback as we now move on to the last Western region robot. Capping it off here with our Western region. I know that before we all say it, I know this robot is a California bot now, but those California videos were very long as they were. So I moved this robot to the Western region. So it's as Alaskan. I know it's not Alaskan anymore, even though it's kind of an Alaskan themed bot, and the team's from Alaska. But BattleBots already doesn't shut up about the fact it's from Alaska as it is, so we'll quit saying the A word here. We know who we're talking about. It's Yeti, who is back after they said they were retiring, which was probably one of the big surprises this season, one that we're all excited about. Shoutouts to C2 Robotics, Christian Carlberg for getting Greg Gibson back in the game. And it's cool to see them co-captaining a couple of OGs. They got a fantastic robot, of course, this year. It's the new Yeti with the rounded design. It's not as monster truck as we're used to seeing Yeti, but it still has the forks. They're very slick. They fold into the robot. They have the drum. They have multiple drums, in fact, that they're running, multiple configurations for 2021. And they can even take the forks off like they could last year. They have a special pair of wedges, plow wedges that they're calling full smash mode. So we'll probably see that this year. We'll probably see the lifted forks. It's always fantastic driving from those two guys, whoever ends up being behind the wheel. There's a lot to look forward to, but will this Yeti live up to the Yeti hype that we saw, 2016, 2018, 2019? What do we think?
I love Yeti when I first saw it. Yeti has been a fantastic machine, and clearly for this year they have bulked up without a doubt.
Big time.
Which looks unique in its own right. It looks fantastic. The drum looks beefy. The forks look beefier. It looks like that the entire weapon system looks a lot more it looks tougher than I suppose the previous lifter system. It kind of looked like it was made out of thin plastic straws. But
yeah.
I'm in a way they've had to they've sacrificed I suppose the Yeti I suppose in a way somewhat of a Yeti gimmick where it was just like the monster truck that would just drive over you. You could not wedge you could not wedge this thing because there was nothing to wedge.
No.
And now Yeti just seems like it's going to succumb to I suppose those similar things. I mean, I could entirely be wrong. They could still have that drive and that power to just trundle over everything, but
it doesn't look like it has the ground clearance. Because Yeti could lose a wheel and be fine.
Yeah, this robot looks like it's going to just be a bit more difficult to drive around if it does lose a wheel, because at the end those wheels are of course exposed. There's nothing really covering them, so it's a matter of do they have the turning speed quick enough to counter anyone flanking it, and is it going to be tough enough to not have the wheels fly off? But other than that, I think it's such a monster. It looks monstrous.
It does. You can always expect that from Yeti.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very excited for Yeti. I mean, in my opinion, that's probably the hypest announcement of the entire 2021 season.
For sure. No one knew about it.
You got Yeti coming back. You got Christian Carlberg coming back. You got them teaming up on the new Yeti. It looks beautiful.
Super good.
I have very high hopes for it. That's why I drafted them. They were my second draft pick in the King of Draft.
Yeah.
And I think that they're gonna make some waves, and it's gonna be a lot of fun to see, because the last Yeti was kind of a glass cannon. It wasn't very durable.
I think it was fairly durable.
Compared to what it is now, though. I mean, now the new one is probably more durable.
We don't know that, though. That's the one thing I always have trouble with brand new robots that take the same design but completely rebuild it, kind of like what we're seeing with Jackpot, kind of like what we're seeing with Claw Viper and Big Dill. You sometimes see those new bot woes that you wouldn't normally see with teams that keep it consistent, like Copperhead and Lockjaw.
Yeah.
So
I mean, Yeti had visible weapon motors and stuff. He doesn't have that anymore. Stuff like that. The old Yeti is still a legend. It's still an amazing robot, and it's one of my favorites for sure. But this new one, I'm just really excited for.
Yeah.
It's like I love seeing Yeti compete. I think that it's in my view. If it proves itself to be durable, more durable than it was before with this kind of thing, that's good. But I just think that there's now just more places to be hit from, and
Yeah.
it's just going to seem like I don't know if it because like since Yeti was thinner, like getting hit now from like previous Yeti from like a vertical spinner, is that would it be take as much damage as it would now if it was like in comparison to, I suppose, if it was hit for the vertical spinner for this iteration? It's like, there's, I suppose, more of a gap to be getting hit instead of them getting hit straight away. I just have to see, but it just seems.
Yeah.
But it looks tanky, it looks beefy. I love seeing the Yeti team and the energy that they bring, because I recall them being rather big hype machines before. I'd say.
High energy. They just want to fight. They just want to rip us apart.
They just want to fight. They're monsters. It's like yeah, exactly. Robot Wars may have all its stuff, but we have a Yeti. It's just fantastic.
Yeah, no, Yeti's super cool. They're going to be crazy aggressive as always. Might have their hands in it full, of course. Yeti's captain, Greg Gibson, helping with Riptide up as well. But yeah, I'm super excited for Yeti. It's a robot, no matter what, you're going to be excited for. It's a household name. It's a popular robot. It's a fan favorite. But will it do good? That's what we're going to have to see. I think, it could get away with the rough season and still make the playoffs off name value. And but even then, this robot, we can see taking it far, maybe even all the way, maybe to the title. We know it's come close before. It's made semifinals, it's made top 8, it's made top 16. This could be its year. Maybe having that extra set of hands, like with Christian Carlberg and the rest of that crew, because they know what they're doing. Maybe that's what it takes. But yeah, I'm super excited for Yeti this year. Thank you for staying until the end and tuning into these next 2 episodes here at the Combot Collective Battlebots Preview. This has been part 3 and 4 that you're seeing this cap off at, and we hope you stick around and join us as we start going towards the East Coast in our next 2 parts. We'll be doing the New England region and the East Coast region up next. We'll be continuing this series all the way until the very start of the Battlebots season, which we will then do our Battlebots Episode 1 analysis, hopefully coming up soon. Of course, you can find me as we start rolling up out here. You can find me, Sterling Brown, on Instagram at SterlingTXTG. And you can find me in a couple other projects as we go into 2022, so stay tuned for all of that. You can find MisterRedman on his website, www.joshuagunnett.com, where he does a portfolio showing off some of his works. And he's looking for stuff to do, so if you're interested in some of the stuff he's done, let him know. And you can find PoryNog at his YouTube channel, www.dippyegg.xyz, which recently surpassed 500 subscribers. We're all super happy for him here at TCC, and we hope to see him grow along with this channel here. Thank you again so much for tuning in for this. Rolling on out here, the outro music you're hearing right now was done by our team member Sibilant, who hopefully we'll be seeing again fairly soon. And as always, like I said at the top of the video, you can find us on Discord in our community. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on Facebook. And you can listen to audio versions of all of these podcasts wherever you find your podcasts. Spotify, Apple, Google, you know how it goes. This has been Sterling Brown, and we are heading on out of here. Stay tuned for more Battlebots Preview and more to the Combot Collective in general. We love to see you, and we hope you have a good day.
This was the Combot Collective. Find us on Instagram and Discord.